Welcome to Guardians of Gaia, connecting people and planet, our collective home where all life exists in a common ecosystem. I'm Megan Edwards, and on our program we explore the environmental world and we learn how people are saving the planet and actually fighting the system that is killing it. In our season so far, we've looked at different topics through the lens of climate change, and you may be wondering why. Well, we know now from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change that South Africa is a global warming hotspot. Now, this means that our region is at higher risk of severe environmental conditions that will impact many vulnerable people. In this episode, we will explore the world of small-scale fishers, looking at challenges that they are facing in sustaining their livelihoods and adapting to climate change. If you or someone you know in your community is actively doing their part in the fight against climate change, or if you wish for us to come and tackle a very specific environmental issue, please email us then on gog@capetowntv.org. In southern Africa, increases in sea temperatures and droughts are already affecting marine life, which then impacts heavily on the livelihoods of small-scale fishers and their communities. And yet small-scale fishers play a vital role as food producers in our food system, contributing significantly to food security. In our program today, we hear from small-scale fishing communities across South Africa about the serious threats to their livelihoods, cultural practices, and marine resources. Of course, fishing activities have been at the heart of coastal and inland fishing communities for generations, giving life to the heritage and traditional practices and, of course, indigenous knowledge as well. So let's go to the fishing community of Doornbay on the West Cape Coast, where in 2013 they were already recording their impacts and some of the highest impacts of climate change and looking for ways to adapt to the changing environment.
Vir ons as vissers, dit is soos 'n lewe die ons eet van hom. Ons doen alles van hom af. Hy's iewers my genesing ook. Because ek by die huisie lekker voel nie. Dan kom sit ek in die strand, dit gee my weer hy gemoedsrus, dit gee my weer 'n verandering. En dit gee my weer iets anders. Dat voel my weer ek gaan weer met iets anders weer huis toe. En ek meen dit is hoe ek hier begin voel. En as dit 'n klimaatsverandering impak op dit het, dan sal dit 100% op my lewe 'n impak hê.
The small-scale fishers of Doornbay on the Cape West Coast have grappled with many changes in the past decade. A large commercial fishing company, which had thrived here until the 1980s, finally closed its doors in 2007. The government introduced extensive changes to the laws governing fishing quotas, and fishermen started to notice changes in their fishing catches.
As ons terugkyk na die jare voorheen, as dinge net nie meer dieselfde soos dit gewees het nie. Vistye, ewens visplekke, al die dinge is besig om die mekaar te raak. Ons as vissers is byvoorbeeld gewoond dat ons in September maand is die tyd wat ons bankspesies hier in die wal by ons vang. Deesdae ondervind is dit nie, dit was nou al Oktober maand en ons ondervind die tipe bankspesies nog hier op die area waar hy se post om te wees is hy nog hier op die area sien. En dit begin raak waar ons bekommernis.
It has been a challenging time for the entrepreneurs of this small fishing town. In 2010, the Doornbay fishers started working with Cape Town-based organization, the Environmental Monitoring Group, to find ways to document and understand the fishing community's vulnerabilities to these changes and threats.
Ons het saam met AMG begin. Ons het data gekapture die veranderingen in ons viswaters. Ons het gesien, ja, maar dit is 'n goeie idee met wat ons besig is. zoals die tijds als die data gemoniteerd. Het is ook om zien, ja, maar dat is ook hoe ze onszelf kan voorbereiden voor die pad vorentoe moet waar, zoals nou voor ons is. Ons moet een project hier zo bezig en Doornbij, waar die visserman om onszelf verbetert. Onze voorvaders hebben nooit die gelegenheid gehad om die kennis wat hulle weet, die veranderingen wat in die viswater is, om op papier te zetten. Ik denk dit is een goede gelegenheid om die veranderingen op papier te zetten en voor die nageslag wat nog moet komen, voor hulle te kan toon voor die data wat ons nou mee bezig is.
The aim was to explore how climate change impacts on livelihoods of the Doringbai fishers, for them to collect their own data about sea conditions and fish catches, and record any strange events. With the support from other NGOs and government, they also set to work to become more effective business people and to shape policy. For the fishers of Doringbai, access to the sea is everything. By pulling together as a community, in tandem with civil society and government, they must find ways to protect their livelihoods.
Met die sukses waarna toe ons ook 'n policy geskryf het in 2007 aan die departement van Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries en aan die ministeries en aan die parlement. So hy's goedgekeur. Dis die volgende pluspunt vir Suid-Afrikaanse vissers dat hulle 'n deelname het aan die skryf van die nuwe policy. So die manier hoe die policy die visserman beskerm en sal ek sê laat baat vind is iets van wat die visserman jare voor gedroom het om sy eie reg binne die MLR uit te kan kry.
Wat is de alternatief sal daar wees vir ons as vissers? Om nie net om geld te maak, maar om te kan lewe.
Traditional fishing is a way of life for the people of Doringbai. It is also the fertile ground of emerging entrepreneurs, but they face many threats. The harsh competitiveness of the business environment, a policy landscape which favors the big operators, growing competition for overpressured fishing stocks, and now, climate change. This is perhaps the least understood of all the threats facing the small fishing operators, but perhaps a changing climate will bring opportunities too. Right now, EMG and fishers have the opportunity to explore what it means to grow and develop in a context of this uncertainty.
We've just heard from Doringbai fishers in the Western Cape about their knowledge on climate change and adapting to the changing environment. Let's get a picture now of where small-scale fishing communities are in South Africa and hear about their fight for recognition of their right to livelihoods and food sovereignty.
Kwiminyaka emininzi edlulileyo unxweme lwamanzi asukela e-Alexander Bay eNorthern Cape ukuya eKosi Bay KwaZulu-Natal ubelikhaya kwelo nani lincinane labalobi bentlanzi beneendlela zabo zokuphila. Kwixesha elidlulileyo aba balobi baye basokola ekuphuhliseni indlela yabo yokuphila ngeli shishini lokuloba nokukhusela impilo yaselwandle ngokomthetho. Abalobi bayayazi ukuba impilo yaselwandle, ukhuseleko lwayo kunye nophuhliso lwempilo abayiphilayo luxhomekeke ekutheni benze umcelimngeni kwisebe le-Oceans Economy yoMzantsi Afrika. Abalobi bayayazi ukuba impilo yaselwandle, ukhuseleko lwayo kunye nophuhliso lwempilo abayiphilayo luxhomekeke kubo. Ngonyaka ka-2004, abalobi baye benza iqela elibizwa njenge-Coastal Links, umbutho wokuqhubela phambili uphuhliso lwabalobi abakumgangatho osezantsi ukuze babandakanywe kwi-Marine Living Resource Act. Ngo-2007, umbutho we-Coastal Links waye wadibana noMasifundise kunye neminye imibutho emincinci ukuze inkundla ibafumanise bekulungele ukufumana uncedo lolwaphuhliso olusuka kurhulumente kwiphepha i-MRLA. Iphepha i-MRLA liye laxelengwa ngo-2012 ukubona iziphumo zalo njengokuba iliphepha elavunywayo, kodwa ukususela ngo-2016 iingxaki zalo ziye zaninzi.
Let's now go to the Eastern Cape and hear how Dwese Cwebe fishing community fought in court for the customary right to traditional fishing grounds, now surrounded by marine protected areas.
Iphondo laseMpuma Koloni lelona lisezingeni elisezantsi ngokomnotho eMzantsi Afrika. Kodwa eli phondo liyazingca ngobuhle bamanxweme awo asuka ePlattenberg Bay ukuya ePort Edward. Kukwezi ndawo abalobi baye bakha imizi yabo ngenxa yempilo kulamanzi. Kodwa unxinzelelo lweminyaka engaphambili, apartheid, luvale amathuba wokuloba ngokwe-MPAs. Ii-MPAs zakhiwa ngaphandle kwemvume nolwazi lwabalobi bezindawo, kwaye amalungelo abo okuba babe nolwazi lwabekelwa ecaleni nangona i-Constitution iwakhusele la malungelo. Kwabalobi baseDwesa Cwebe, ezi MPAs zavala amanxweme okuloba kwabantu bale ndawo.
Now, the South African Constitution that came into force in 1996 recognizes the customary rights of communities, which was a significant break from a past where these rights were not recognized.
Ngo-1999 kwafakwa i-MPA, but ndiyaqonda iyenzile into elapha kwi-13 years ine-MPA kungalotywa. But now 2010 utata wayeswelekile. Emveni kwe-funeral yakhe utata ndathatha i-fishing rod zam ndahamba ndoloba ngaphakathi kwe-reserve apho kukho i-MPA khona kwindawo ekuthiwa kusembhashe River Mouse. And mandiloba phana kwafika ii-rangers zakwa-Eastern Cape Parks, and ufika kwe-rangers zakwa-Eastern Cape Parks sasiba yi-3, inguDavid Gongqose, Siphumle Windasi, Kosiphendula Juza, siba yi-3. Apho singafanelanga khona sasibathi xa bethethayo kule case okokuqala i-heading ye-case bathi trespass. And right kulo case leyo uJeki wasixelela ngamagqwetha kwa-Legal Resources Center.
In 2010, David Gongoshe and 2 other fishers of Khobeni were arrested for fishing illegally inside a marine protected area. And so David and the other fishers went to court and argued that, in fact, they were not fishing illegally. They were fishing lawfully in terms of the customary law of their community. And the courts have accepted that that was indeed true.
Azifezekise azalisekise amaphupha abantu base-South Africa bazibone nabo be-free bekhululekile, ngoba into eyenzekayo kula Cwebedwesa abantu ngoku bafana namaxhoba, bangamaxhoba ngoba amalungelo wabo abakawafumani, and nalaba bangomhlaba ayenziwe ngo-2001 awakade azaliseke abantu bazibone besenkululekweni.
After the break, we travel to the fishing community at Port Nolloth and, of course, Handeklip in the Northern Cape to see the environmental threats that they are facing and what they are doing to survive. So join us on Guardians of Gaia, connecting people and planet.